Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Dr. Kelly Morgan and this webinar is around a study on young people's consumption of sugary drinks and energy drinks in Wales. Over the next series of slides, I'll highlight why this research was important and what we aimed to find out. I'll briefly introduce the methods which we used and then share some of the key findings of our research and highlighting what these findings mean for your school. So the consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages, including energy drinks, poses a significant public health problem. So consumption has been linked to poor dental health, depressive symptoms, and emotional difficulties among young people, increasing risk of type 2 diabetes, and also problems with sleeping. And these are just some of the health problems, to name a few. So in terms of consumption, it's linked to high sugar content. So for example, some energy drinks can contain up to 21 teaspoons of sugar, and that's over 3 times the daily recommended intake. We also have high caffeine content. And when we think about young people, this is a crucial time for nurturing healthy behaviours. So we know that dietary patterns often track into later life. And in terms of current evidence, a lot of the data was originating from the US. So prior to our study, we were not too aware around intakes among young people in the UK and particularly in Wales and how that kind of landscape has looked over time. So sugary drinks and energy drinks are available widely, and marketing strategies have actively targeted certain communities. So we've seen the use of outdoor advertisements in areas of deprivation, and targeted television adverts for, again, those in deprived areas and those from ethnic minority backgrounds. The sales of soft drinks is estimated at approximately 1 billion litres per year globally. And in the UK, the energy drinks market is worth over £2 billion. In terms of legislation, in 2018, the government proposed a ban on energy drinks for young people under the age of 16. However, to date, we're still seeing a call for the ban of energy drinks to children. So some supermarkets have brought in their own legislations around no sales to under 16s, but as of yet, drinks remain unregulated. And within the Welsh Government strategy in the Healthy Wales, Healthy Weight agenda, as you can see, they propose a ban on the sale of energy drinks to children and young people, and this is by 2030. And the wider UK government is currently discussing what a ban should look like, and should this be applied, for example, to under 16s or to those under 18. So the aims of our research study were firstly to look at the overall consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages and energy drinks among 11 to 16-year-olds in Wales. So for sugary drinks, we were looking at data from 1998 all the way along to 2017. And for energy drinks, we looked at data in a shorter time period between 2013 and 2017. So this reflects when the data was captured. A second aim of our research was to look at consumption reports among sociodemographic subgroups. For example, what are consumption rates among different genders, different ages, and those along a family affluence score. So for this study, we looked at data from the Health Behaviour in School-Aged Children survey and the Student Health and Wellbeing surveys gathered as part of the network. So data was first collected in 1998. And as you can see, we looked at a series of surveys across the years all the way up to 2017. As you can imagine, the sample size has grown considerably over time. So in 1998, the sample of students was around 4,000. And in 2017, we have student responses from over 100,000 young people. Within surveys, we looked at consumption data. So a question around how many times a week do you usually drink Coke or other soft drinks that can contain sugar? And in our later surveys, a question asking how many times a week do you usually drink energy drinks such as Red Bull, Monster and Rockstar? And for each of these, we had 7 responses. And there was some variation in responses across the years, and this has been accounted for within our analyses in terms of the categories used. But to run our analyses, we coded these into 3 groups: a never and less than weekly, weekly 2 to 4 times and 5 to 6 times a week, and then a category daily or more than once a day. Demographic data within surveys looked at gender, where we compared responses between those reporting boy, between those reporting girl. We looked at responses across school year, and we also looked at responses to a family affluence score, whereby we ranked scores and we split them into a low affluence score and those reporting a high affluence score. In total, our study looked at over 170,000 student responses since 1998. So what are our key findings? So our first aim was to look at overall reports of consumption. So for sugar sweetened beverages, 26% of young people reported never or less than weekly consuming them. Just over 1 in 2 reported weekly consumption, and 22% reported daily or greater consumption. Similarly, for energy drinks, 77% reported never or less than weekly consuming them, 17% reported weekly consumption, and 6% reported consumption daily or more than once a day. And within our analyses, we found this link between those who reported never consuming sugary drinks and those who never reported consuming energy drinks, and vice versa. So those who reported daily consumption of sugary drinks also showed trends reporting daily consumption of energy drinks. So the graph here shows our responses to consumption over the years from 1998 up to 2017. So for sugar sweetened beverage consumption, the dark line here shows those reporting never or less than weekly use. And as you can see, there's an encouraging trend here, going from roughly 8% in 1998, moving up towards that 30% mark in 2017. We're also seeing an encouraging trend of daily use coming down here. So starting right up towards 60% in the earlier years and now below the 20% mark for 2017. However, for weekly use, so the small dotted line, here we can see this sharp increase from 2000 and then this kind of steady climb then and plateauing out above the 50% mark in recent years. So if we look at the trend analysis for energy drink consumption, so the never or less than weekly use, the top black line, you can see this climbing between the 70% mark in 2013 and encouragingly up towards that 80% mark in 2017. We can see that weekly use, it has a steady decline over the years. However, daily use, so the line at the bottom of the graph, shows a consistent report at around the 6, 7, 8% mark for daily consumption of energy drinks. And the second aim of our study was to look at consumption across groups. So who are those with the highest intake of both sugary drinks and who are those with the highest intakes of energy drinks? So for both types of drinks, we found that boys, older children, and those from the more deprived background, so our low family affluence scores, were more likely to report higher consumption when we looked at each type of drink. And a further key finding of our study was that over time, we saw faster declines in sugary beverage consumption among those in the high affluence group. So this is revealing a widening in disparity between consumption rates for those from the most affluent groups to those in the most deprived groups. So albeit an encouraging trend for those in the high affluence group, we're not seeing this fast decline for those from more deprived backgrounds. So what do these findings mean for your school? So firstly, we are seeing encouraging trends in reports of those saying never or less than weekly sugar drink consumption, yet 1 in 2 are still reporting weekly consumption. And there is this great need to explore avenues to help reduce inequalities in consumption rates so that we can see encouraging trends both amongst those from the high and the low affluent backgrounds. In terms of what your school can do, it's important to help young people become aware of the harms associated with consumption and to make them aware of the trends that we're seeing here amongst different groups. Your school can look at ways to facilitate healthy food choices for all population groups and all students, and look at ways to share good practice, both with neighbouring schools and schools further across the field in Wales. So thank you very much for listening today. I'd like to welcome some questions, and please do get in touch if you have any further questions. Thanks very much.